welcome back to Things You Don't Know. I'm here today with my compatriot in arms, Chandler Foster.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. And Dr. Weaver, today we're going to cover a topic that's practical, historical, medical, and surprisingly important to everyday life. Thump 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 thump. Condoms.
Yes, and we're going to treat this subject seriously because it does deserve that. Condoms are not just a modern consumer product, they sit at the intersection of public health, personal responsibility, comfort, contraception, and disease prevention.
Yes, and today we're not just asking, what is a condom? No, we're asking more important and thought-provoking questions. We're asking, where did condoms come from? What are they made of today? Why are they still so widely used? How do you pick the right size? How do you use one correctly? And what should people know about flavored condoms, oral sex, and lubricants?
Yes, because one of the most important truths in public health is this: even a good method only works well if people understand it, can use it correctly, and are comfortable enough to use it consistently. And I might add, comfortable enough to ask about it, to seek the information.
Absolutely. It's very important to know the information. Now, let's talk about the history. Now, I think, Dr. Weaver, that a lot of people assume that condoms are a modern invention, but the basic idea is much older than that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, much older. The concept of a protective sheath has been around for centuries. Long before modern latex manufacturing, people in different parts of the world experimented with barrier methods using materials that were available to them. Historical sources describe sheaths made from linen, imagine that, treated animal tissue, fish membranes, bladders, and intestines.
So even in earlier societies, people were clearly trying to solve two basic problems: preventing pregnancy and reducing disease.
Yes, that is right. The materials were crude by modern standards, and comfort was not exactly the selling point, but the underlying idea was already there: create a physical barrier. By the Renaissance period, written records became clearer. Some early condom like devices were described as protection against disease, especially sexually transmitted infections, while over time, barrier use also became associated more openly with contraception.
The interesting thing here to me, Dr. Weaver, is that even when the technology was primitive, the need was already quite obvious.
Yeah, yeah. Human beings have long understood that sex brings pleasure, reproduction, and risk. The barrier method was an attempt to manage those realities with the technology of the time. But of course, reliability, consistency, and comfort were kind of limited.
Now, this brings us to the big turning point here and the most common, well known type of condom, the rubber.
Yes, the development of vulcanized rubber in the 19th century made condoms more durable and more commercially viable. Later, latex improved things even more by making condoms thinner, more flexible, less expensive, and easier to manufacture consistently. That is what helped move condoms from being an inconsistent niche item into a mass produced public health product.
So, in one sense, the modern condom is a chemical and industrial revolution, layered on top of a very old human idea.
Good way to put it, actually.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Weaver, why don't you bring us into the present? With all the other forms of contraception available today, why do condoms still matter so darn much?
Well, because condoms still do something most other contraceptive methods do not do. They reduce the risk of both pregnancy and STDs, or sexually transmitted infections. That alone keeps them central to public health. They are also widely available, relatively inexpensive, and do not require a prescription in most cases, and can be used on demand.
Yeah, so they're accessible in a way that some other methods might not be, right?
Exactly. You're right, Chandler. And they are one of the few methods that can be bought easily, used immediately, and combined with other contraceptive strategies if desired. They also give a person direct, visible control over whether protection is being used.
And they're still very common.
Yes, despite newer contraceptive options, condoms remain widely used. Part of that is cost, part is convenience, part is STI or STD prevention, and part is that for many people, they are a practical first line of protection.
Now, I want to get into what condoms are made of. Now, let's talk about materials, Dr. Weaver. When people look at the box, they may see latex, non latex, natural membrane, polyisoprene, polyurethane. Now, what do those categories really mean, Dr. Weaver?
Well, the most common external condom today is latex. Latex remains the standard product for many people because it's effective, widely available, elastic, and generally quite reliable. But not everyone can use latex comfortably. Some people have latex sensitivity or allergies, and that's where synthetic options became and are important.
Such as polyurethane and polyisoprene?
Yes, exactly. Those are common latex free alternatives. They're often suitable for people with latex sensitivity and can still provide strong protection when used correctly. Then there are natural membrane condoms, sometimes called lambskin condoms, which are made from animal membranes.
And those sound old fashioned because, well, in a way, they are.
Oh, they are, and that's for sure. And the crucial point is this: natural membrane condoms may help prevent pregnancy, but they are not the best choice for preventing sexually transmitted infections. So, if STI protection is one of the goals, and very often it is, latex or an appropriate synthetic condom is usually the better direction.
So natural does not automatically mean better.
Correct. In medicine and public health, natural is not a synonym for more protective.
Now let's talk about the many different kinds of condoms that you have on the shelf. Now, when we look at the ordinary store shelf, there are thin condoms, ripped condoms, studded condoms, lubricated condoms, snug fit condoms, larger condoms, flavored condoms. And see, all that can be quite overwhelming.
Well, yes, it can. But the first thing to remember is that many of those features are about comfort, sensation, or preference rather than basic effectiveness. Most important question is not which one sounds exciting. No, it's which one will fit properly, feel comfortable enough to use, and provide reliable protection.
That's right. So, function before novelty. Function before novelty is what matters.
You got it right there, Chandler. So, a condom that is uncomfortable, too loose, too tight, or poorly matched to the situation is not the best choice, no matter how appealing the packaging may be.
Now, Dr. Weaver, let's get into something. And I have to say, admittedly, I did not know most of this. So I'm glad that I'm getting ready to learn about this. Let's talk about the different sizes of condoms. Now, Dr. Weaver, I think that this is the part that a lot of people are embarrassed to ask about. How do you pick the right size? But I'm not too embarrassed to ask you, so why don't you tell us?
It's a very practical question, and it's an important one. The right condom should feel snug and secure, but not painfully tight. It should roll on smoothly, reach the base of the penis comfortably, stay in place during sex, and not feel like it is strangling circulation or slipping around loosely.
So, Dr. Weaver, how does a person figure that out without just guessing all the time?
A good starting point is to measure the penis when it is fully erect. Length is measured from the base of the penis to the tip. Girth is measured around the thickest part of the shaft, usually with a soft measuring tape or even a strip of paper or a string or whatever that can also then be measured.
Yeah, and girth probably matters more than many people think it does.
Yeah, often more than length. Many condoms can accommodate a range of lengths because they roll, but girth has a major influence on whether the condom feels too tight, too loose, or properly secure.
So, what are the general guidelines here?
Well, if someone is unsure, starting with a regular or standard condom is often reasonable. Many people find that standard sizes work perfectly well. If the condom feels painfully tight, does not unroll comfortably, or seems overly stressed, then a larger size may be better. If it slips off, feels baggy, or bunches excessively, then a snugger or smaller fit may be appropriate.
And those terms that you see on the box, like regular, large, snug, well, those are not always standardized across brands, are they?
No, they are absolutely not. And that is very important. Brand labels are not universal scientific measurements. One brand's large may not be identical to another brand's large. So the smarter approach is to read actual dimensions when possible and then pay attention to real world fit.
All right, so the basic rule here is measure, start reasonably, then adjust based on comfort and security. I think some facts are important to present here. The average erect penis is between 5.3 and 6 inches.
Yes, that is correct. And people say, "Oh, my penis is too small because it's only 5.5 inches." Well, that's not true. That's average.
I think if you got 5.5 inches, you're probably doing pretty good.
Well, yeah, you're right in the average range there, and that's
Yeah.
fine. The best condom is not the one with the most dramatic advertising. It is the one that fits properly, feels acceptable, stays on, and can be used consistently.
That's exactly right, Dr. Weaver. And now let's talk about something that I think is quite important if you're going to use one of these things. I want to talk about how to put the thing on correctly. Now, Dr. Weaver, let's walk through the proper use step by step.
Okay, step one, use a new condom every time. Do not reuse one. I can't imagine somebody doing that, but I've heard of people doing that, and it's nuts.
Wow, wow.
Check the expiration date and make sure the wrapper is intact. If the package looks damaged, dried out, torn, or suspicious, don't buy it and certainly don't use it.
Absolutely don't use it. And opening the wrapper the wrong way can ruin it before it even goes on the penis.
That's correct. Open it carefully. Don't use scissors if you can avoid them. No teeth, no sharp fingernails digging recklessly into the wrapper. Then, once the penis is erect, place the condom on before genital contact begins. It's usually a good idea
Yeah,
to get that on when you start playing around.
yeah, that's what I would say before, like you said, Dr. Weaver. And that part really does matter because, believe it or not, some people do put the thing on too late.
Exactly. Waiting until midway through sexual contact reduces protection. Once the condom is placed on the tip with the roll facing outward, pinch the tip to leave a small reservoir space for orgasm and squeeze out the excess air. Then roll it all the way down to the base.
And if it's upside down,
Well, if it does not unroll properly and appears to be upside down, do not simply flip it over and keep going. Mm-mm. Use a new one. That is the safer course.
because it may have already contacted fluids.
That is correct.
Now, what about taking it off? We talked about putting it on. Now we need to talk about taking it off because mistakes can happen there too.
Yes, they sure can. After ejaculation, withdraw while the penis is still erect and hold the condom firmly at the base during withdrawal. That reduces the chance that it slips off inside the partner. I know that's happened to a lot of people. Once withdrawn, remove it carefully so semen does not spill. Tie it, which is usually a good hygienic thing. Uh, some people don't, but I think it's a good idea.
I do
Wrap it
too.
in tissue and throw it in the trash.
Yes, throw it in the trash, not in the toilet, right, Dr. Weaver?
Not the toilet. Absolutely not.
That's right. Now I want to talk about lubricants, comfort, safety, and sensation. Now, first I want to start off with lubricants because that can make a real difference in comfort and sensation.
Absolutely, it can. Lubricant reduces friction, which can make sex more comfortable and can also reduce the chance of breakage from excess friction. But the kind of lubricant matters. With latex condoms, oil based lubricants are a romper room no no. They can damage the latex.
So, products like petroleum jelly, body oil, some lotions, or cooking oils are a bad idea. A bad idea with latex.
Oh, yeah. For latex condoms, water based or silicone based lubricants are generally the safer choices. With non latex condoms, compatibility can vary, so reading the package is a wise move.
Yes, it is. Now, let's address the specific point that we wanted to include lubricating the penis before putting the condom on.
Yes, a small amount of compatible lubricant inside the tip of the condom, or, and I think this is a better idea, lightly on the head. Don't go too far down. Don't go further than the ridge on the penis. before the condom is rolled on can sometimes increase comfort and tactile sensation. Some people find that it reduces dryness and makes condoms feel more natural. And I think that is really correct.
Yeah, but the key word there is small.
Exactly. Too much lubricant inside the condom can increase the risk of slipping. So, this is not a matter of coating everything heavily. No, no, no. Just a little modest amount for comfort, not so much that the condom loses its secure grip.
And if more lubrication is needed,
Then, compatible lubricant can also be applied to the outside of the condom. And that can add some sense of satisfaction and increase pleasure for the partner. And that is important if the friction becomes too high. Of course, that will cause friction and that can tear the rubber.
absolutely. Now let's talk about oral sex, Dr. Weaver. This is something that many people don't think about enough. And some people assume that if intercourse is not happening, then protection is not needed. It's unnecessary. But I have to say, that is not the case, is it, Dr. Weaver?
Oh, no, no, no. Um, Oral sex is generally lower risk for HIV transmission than vaginal or anal sex, but is not free of STI risk. A number of infections can still spread through oral sex. For example, herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, those things, which are pretty serious too.
So condoms can still be useful there too.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh yeah.
Using condoms during oral sex on a penis can reduce exposure to bodily fluids and lower risk of infection transmission. That can be especially wise when partners are new, STI status is uncertain, or somebody simply wants to be cautious.
Now that brings us to flavored condoms.
Yeah, kind of sounds weird, but yeah, flavored condoms are largely intended for oral sex. Now, their purpose is obvious enough. They can make the barrier use more tolerable and more appealing by covering the rubber taste that some people dislike.
That's right. So flavored condoms are not just gimmicks or they're not just something that you get for pleasure or just because you like the taste of something while you're doing it. No, that's not it at all. They have a practical role here.
Yeah, of course, now the flavor does matter too. And yeah, that is part of it. And it can be kind of a kick
Oh,
too.
absolutely. It does matter, but it goes so much deeper than that, doesn't it, Dr. Weaver?
You got it. So if a flavored condom makes someone more willing to use protection during oral sex, that can be a meaningful public health benefit.
Absolutely. But there's an important caveat here, right?
Oh, yes. Flavored condoms are generally best reserved for oral sex. For vaginal or anal sex, a standard condom is usually the better choice because flavored coatings or sugars in some products may increase irritation in those areas in the vagina or in the anus, or simply are just not intended for those uses, and the friction there may cause problems, tears, and whatnot.
Precisely, Dr. Weaver. So that gives us a very simple rule. We use flavored condoms for oral sex, and we use regular condoms for vaginal or anal sex. So, flavored for oral sex, regular for vaginal or anal sex.
Yeah, that's a sensible rule of thumb.
Oh, yes. I think it's a very important rule, too.
Okay, well, let's do a quick list of common mistakes.
Yes, let's do that, Dr. Weaver, because I think that that helps listeners remember.
Certainly. One error, using an expired condom. Another, using a condom that was stored badly. Opening the wrapper carelessly. Putting the condom on late. Not leaving space at the tip. Using the wrong side. Using too much lubricant inside. Using oil-based lubricant with latex. Reusing a condom. Or here's one that I've heard of, and it's just so dangerous, using two condoms at once and thinking that double must be better, because what it does is it causes another layer of material to have friction and can make them tear.
Yeah, I could not imagine why people would want to do that, but trust me, double is not better, is it, Dr. Weaver?
No, it isn't. Two condoms rubbing against each other can actually increase friction and failure risk. More is not always more in the way people imagine.
That's exactly right. And you know what? Storage matters too.
Yes, condoms should not be kept indefinitely in spaces and places with heat, friction, or repeated pressure. For example, bouncing around for months in a wallet, gloved compartment, or other harsh environment is not good at all. They are durable, but they're not indestructible by any means.
Now I want to talk about what to do if the condom should break or slip off. Now, what should people do if this happens, Dr. Weaver?
Stop and replace it immediately if possible. Already been exposure? Then the next steps depend on the situation. That may include emergency contraception if pregnancy is a concern, or STI testing if infection exposure is a concern. The important thing is not to panic, but also not to just shrug it off.
So it becomes a problem-solving situation, not a reason for shame or humiliation or embarrassment.
Exactly. Public health works best when people respond calmly and practically.
Now, what strikes me in all this is that condoms are a mix of old human concerns and modern science. The problems are ancient, pregnancy, disease, comfort, responsibility, but the products are quite modern.
Yes, condoms are a good example of how a simple physical barrier can have major implications for personal and public health. They are not glamorous, perhaps, but they are enormously important, and in many ways, they represent practical wisdom. Plan ahead, reduce risk, and do not assume that desire cancels biology.
Oh my goodness, that is so Dr. Weaver.
Okay, I'll accept that one.
And see, I think there's also something worth saying about embarrassment. A lot of people are too embarrassed to ask basic questions. What size do I buy? How do I put it on? What kind of lube do I use? Are flavored condoms only for oral sex? Do I need protection for oral sex? And so on. I think people are afraid to ask those questions, but it's good to ask them.
Yes, it is. And embarrassment is often the enemy of good health information. The more ordinary and informed these conversations become, the better people can protect themselves and each other.
So, what would you say the final takeaway is here?
Well, condoms have a long history, but modern products are far safer and more comfortable than the older natural sheaths made from intestine, membrane, and other improvised materials. Today, the key questions are fit, material, correct use, lubricant compatibility, and choosing the right product for the type of sexual activity involved.
Now, Measure if needed. Start with a reasonable fit. Use a new condom every time. Put it on correctly. Remove it correctly. Use compatible lubricant. Consider condoms for oral sex too. Use flavored condoms mainly for oral sex. And do not assume that close enough is good enough when it comes to size and use.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you. Well, that's it, guys, for this episode of Things You Don't Know.
Yeah. Listen, come on back. Uh, Thanks for listening and come back and see us soon. We have some other good stuff coming. So for Chandler Foster and me, I say bye for now.